Commissioner Reed is there. We will get ready to get started.
Sorry, y'all.
You're fine.
Okay.
I will go ahead and read our COMA statement to kick us off. Good evening and welcome to our February 3rd County Board of County Commissioners business meeting. House or joining us online. I just want to pass on a bit of information regarding how we'll run our meetings on Zoom during this time of social distancing. If visual aids are used during the meeting, the presenter will share their screen with the call. Participants will not be able to view them without a computer, smartphone, or tablet. All participants will be entered into the meeting with their audio muted, meaning the commission and the public will not be able to hear you. Presenters will be unmuted when their agenda item comes up. We ask that all online presenters use good conference call etiquette and mute their lines when not each time they speak. If you have a public comment on the agenda item or under regular public comment, please use the raise your hand function in Zoom. Staff will call on you and unmute you. We ask that speakers give their name and address for the minutes. The county reserves the right to shut any speaker from the meeting if they are vulgar or inappropriate. The chat function has been disabled and a recording of this meeting will be available on our website after the meeting. So let's go ahead and start with the consent. Do either of the commissioners have anything from our consent agenda?
Commissioner Reed here. I would like to pull, I think that it's the last item, 1.6, Sheriff's Office 2021 vehicle purchase, and have a bit more discussion about that, please.
Commissioner Kelly, anything additional?
No additional items for me.
Thank you. And Sarah, do we have anyone in the courthouse?
I don't have anyone here for to request to pull items off consent.
And Carrie, do we have any online? Or Jill, I don't know.
No, we're not seeing anybody. All good.
So Sarah, help me with order of things here. Do we go ahead and vote on the rest of the consent agenda and then have discussion?
Yeah, correct. Normally the motion would be to accept item number. Yeah.
It is item 1.6. If anyone would like to make that motion.
I'll move to approve the consent agenda, excuse me, the consent agenda with the exception of item 1.6.
Second.
And we'll bring it to a vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Fantastic. And now we will have a bit more of a discussion about item 1.6 from the sheriff's purchase.
I believe Sheriff Armbruster is available as well as several members of his staff to answer any questions the commissioners might have. And generally, we start off with, if a commissioner has particular questions, they just start off with asking those.
And I'll just say that Captain Grims is on the call here. You'll see him on the screen. He will be available if you have something.
Commissioner Reed here. So I do have a number of questions. Some of them I just had when I first looked through the agenda and have had some contact from members of the public who raised some of those same questions and a few others. So I don't want to be overwhelming, but I think I might just kind of mention all of the questions, and I think some of them tie together. And then if any of them get so I was curious how many units we currently have in the sheriff's patrol unit specifically, since it seems like that's what's being requested. So how many units we have, and then how old are those units, and if there's anything more you can tell me about the average time frame or average lifetime of a law enforcement unit. I don't know if there's like an industry standard for that, or if it's pretty sheriff's office based on what you use vehicles for, but any insight to that. And then I was also curious about the contract process specifically, and the MACPP, which Sarah did tell me what that meant, but I didn't write it, so I forgot what that acronym was. But a bit curious about the contract kind of context of that, and why we explain how that's used. And I think I'll just start there because that feels like a few questions kind of rolled up together.
I'm sorry, this is Under Sheriff Simmons. Robin, do you know if Captain Grims is on the panel? He was having some technical difficulties in it, and from just a standpoint of being not part of the panel.
Sheriff Simmons, that was really difficult to hear. It's kind of just some gargly. Sorry.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, no, you're still real garbled.
I'm sorry, can you hear me now?
That's clear at Sheriff Armbruster's desk.
Yeah, I was having my office. My name's administrative captain at the Law Enforcement Center now. I'm the one that presented this proposal. I'd like to bring question by question and explain everything to you, what our reasoning for this is. And I kind of missed some of it when I was back in my office. So could you hit me with the first one? And then I'll just.
Sure. How many total units does the sheriff's office have now? And then how old are those? And generally wondering what the lifetime of those vehicles are before you determine that they need replaced.
Okay, in the patrol division, we have 23 units, 23 cars. They usually average, it can vary from year to year, but anywhere from usually about 50,000 miles a year on each car. So we generally get a couple years out of each one. Some of them, we've extended that. The problem is when you get into 100,000 plus miles, spending money on engines, transmissions, air conditioners, things that we need to keep the vehicle going. And also what you run into with that is if you have a vehicle is used the way we use them in rough conditions, sometimes at high rates of speed, those vehicles suspension worn out. So we need to make sure and have up-to-date equipment. That way we can ensure that our staff and the public aren't going to be the victim of like a ball joint breaking.
Thank you for that. So and I think the request for 8 units is what you're looking to replace currently, like that they are not best for the functions of the sheriff's office right now, it seems like. So I was wondering if you could tell me a little bit more about those units and what we do with the old units, whether that's a trade. And one of the other questions I had asked, and this might be for to speak more to, or maybe it's your expertise, curious about what the MACPP contract is exactly and what the process, what that means in terms of where these vehicles are coming from. And so curious if the current vehicles we have, are they put into a different rotation? Are they possibly traded or auctioned off to recoup some of the funds? Just curious what happens with that.
Captain, I can answer a little bit of that related contract, if that's okay. So this contract, and I believe MACP is a long acronym for Purchasing Professionals related to the Mid-America Regional Center. So it's Kansas City region, counties, and cities. And their purchasing professionals work together to establish this contract. We have worked hard over the years to make sure our local vendors have an access to participate in. They can, and they can just decide to bid on cars for Lawrence and Douglas County if they choose to. But for the county's entire fleet, not one particular local provider can that we need. So we do need to look outside and look a little bit regionally to make sure can get all those vehicles. So, and just as another piece of background, so, this was it approved in the sheriff's office budget for 2021. In addition to that, there's another layer of sort of financial have here in Douglas County on top of that. So if purchases exceed a certain dollar amount, they need to be awarded through a bid process, or it can be used through a cooperative contract or establishing a contract for it. So in this particular case, we have a cooperative contract that's been negotiated and bid and to make sure that we're getting the best value for the vehicles that we have. And so that's how this contract was put together and how it relates to our purchasing policies. Captain Grims? Well, I would, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Well, I was going to also say, that we use the Purple Wave process on vehicles to, when a vehicle is taken out of service and it's no longer able to be used in our fleet, we use a state auction service called Purple Wave. No offense to, I don't know why I don't call it Blue Wave for KU, but it seems to be run out of K-State, so it's called Purple Wave. And we auction our vehicles off through that. I will also say at times the sheriff's office has been tremendously supportive of helping to support any vehicles to other in Douglas County for different things. And we charge a minimal amount, like what our price would be for that resale value, and put that money into their equipment reserve fund to help pay for these purchases moving forward. So that's our, I wouldn't say every vehicle is sold on auction. I would say that many are, but there are some that are repurposed elsewhere in the organization or the county. I'll turn it over to you, Captain Brims. I promise not to talk anymore.
Oh. So, let me go back. The first part of your question, as far as what we do with the vehicles afterwards, and she was spot on. We actually we're getting ready to do one to help another agency. Can you go back to the second part of your question?
Sorry about that. I was on Commissioner Reed again. I have hit on all of those. I process and just kind of wanted to have some better public understanding of that. And then yeah, you gave me the answer about what happens with the old units. And then it looks like the only other one that I hadn't asked was something I hadn't thought of, but got raised to my attention, and was just curious if they're, excuse me, it sounds like because we have 23 department anyway, and replacing a fraction of those, or that's the request before us. Is it safe to assume that those vehicles will look the same as current sheriff's office vehicles? They will be in the sheriff's office color, visible? Are there any, if there were any like under were being replaced, or any plans for changing what the look of the sheriff's department vehicle is?
There could be road. No matter what, patrol vehicles that are assigned to the patrol division will be clearly marked as law enforcement vehicles, whether with signage or with lights on the roof, the front, the back, both sides, up high and down low. And as I said, signage on both sides, the front and the back, with pertinent information on them.
Great. Thank you. I super appreciate you entertaining all my questions for a bit more public awareness about this. And for me to know, I know that has a pretty large fleet, all kinds of vehicles, specialized vehicles. So this was some helpful insight about what that contract and purchasing process looks like. So thank you very much, Captain. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
This is Commissioner Kelly. Do you have any additional questions?
Nope.
Are we ready to move forward with a motion? I assume now we'll be presenting a motion individually. Okay, so I move to approve purchasing a 2021 Dodge Durango for the sheriff.
Second.
In the amount of $290,000 utilizing MACPP joint vehicle bid.
Second.
All of those in aye,
Hi.
and the motion carries. Thank you.
Thanks for your time. I appreciate it.
Moving to our regular agenda, we have no regular agenda items. Moving to appointments, do we have any appointments to consider?
I do
don't-
not.
I don't believe I have any for you all.
Okay, seeing no appointments, we will move to general public comment. Sarah, has anyone joined you in the courthouse for general
No.
public comment?
I don't have anyone here for public comment.
Jill, has anyone joined us online for general public comment?
Not seeing anybody.
Okay. We will move on to Commissioner and Administrator miscellaneous.
Thank you, Commissioners. Just a few items. I would say I think this might be a record to have 3 agendas in a row with no action items. Well, we had one, didn't we? One planning item, so we're not completely without. But so I do know that we're beginning forward, so I do think our zero as we go. The only thing I wanted to really call in the memo, I talk about our work session next week will be related to cluster development in tier 3, which is a pretty technical term from a planning perspective. I think really the best way to think about it is residential development in the unincorporated area. So I've been planning staff both here at the county and the city to put together a presentation for you. So that's our topic for next week. We do have a Criminal Justice Coordinating Council meeting next week. I did want to talk a little bit about, so it's been a busy week here in the county distribution of vaccine. And last Friday, Public Health and Douglas County Emergency Management co-hosted our first mass event hosted at the fairgrounds. We've had vaccination events at LMH Health, but our first one was at the fairgrounds. And I want to thank a ton of county staff, and I would be remiss if I didn't Commissioner Reed for spending her Friday helping to direct traffic. It was pretty impressive to see how everything all came together after that event. Emergency management and action review to talk about what they can do better moving forward on that. And then they hosted their second mass vaccination event today at the fairgrounds. I do believe we want to get on a regular some adjustments based off weather. And the next week looks pretty rough. And there's talk about, I think they want to make sure that they time the timing of these that can work best for the groups that will be vaccinated. For folks that are in our educational system, for folks in local government that qualify under phase 2, for our food service and grocery workers, and other critical, high contact critical workers that are identified in phase 2. So it's basically everyone in phase 2, but over 6 continue to partner with us on that vaccination process. So I do think these are serious heavy lifts for our organization and public health to host on a regular basis. And particularly as we get into hosting second round, so second dose clinics, it's gonna further exacerbate that. I'm incredibly proud of our team. Lots of feedback from the public that have been supportive for how orderly and organized it's run. I just can't go away from this without thanking, Robert Benecki and Jillian their help with this. Carrie Britt, you know, has been tireless with public communication efforts during this process, but particularly over this last week and the next week. Brock, who is the public information officer for the health department. So she is ready to help manage all of Unified Command's public communication efforts at a very busy time for Unified Command. And then Joliker for not only helping out on Friday, but also in to help us navigate communication branch, navigate some the distribution of vaccines through that process. So I know we've still got a lot of work in front of us, and we've got there's still going to be a lot of changes, but it was really good to see a lot of people get vaccine over the last week or so. So that's all I really have, and I just stand for any questions the commissioners might have.
Sarah,
Appreciate the update, and I really appreciate Commissioner Reed volunteering her time with the vaccination efforts and all of the coordinated efforts. Particularly here, Carrie is pulling such double duty as far as communications during this time of very intense communication. Thank you, Carrie. With phase 2, we have quite a few groups that are scattered in industry around different employers. I'm thinking particularly grocery workers, and that's a challenge to me. Can you help provide any insight into how we're taking that on?
So, you know, my hope is to, now that I believe we've spent a lot of time over the last week working on an approach for education. I think we're really close to being able to release that. Now, having a conversation about how to approach grocery store and food service workers. They will use the vaccine interest form. So as we have been doing for the last several weeks, we highly encourage, if you're a food service worker in Douglas County, or you work at a grocery store, that you complete that vaccine interest form. That will be the methodology, you know, the method into the selection process. I'm going to ask Unified Command that we help identify some additional resources for public health to help with that communication and outreach for grocery store and food service workers. My hope is our friends at the Lawrence Chamber and the Lawrence Restaurant Association help out in helping to get information out to those folks and encourage them to sign up. We have allocated doses throughout this process that are ready each week for them. And particularly the local government numbers for phase 2 are pretty small. So I anticipate that within a week or so, you know, we will have more doses that for groups that have been completed that can be reallocated to others in the system. And I do anticipate that we will get more doses coming down from the federal government. And just with all things COVID, you know, prepare for change and flexibility. You know, we're already hearing information about releasing vaccine information to pharmacies, and how can we bring them into this process. So this is the plan for now. And, you know, we'll make sure we update the commission and the community as we learn more.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. And I think I saw Commissioner Reed, did you have a question or comment as well?
Commissioner Kelly did.
I have a question here in just a sec, but I did want to commend your staff. I heard from some people who attended a meeting today and were really impressed with emergency management's facilitation of that meeting and the work that they're doing. They've really stepped up, and just want to double down on thanking Carrie Britt. Our public information team across Douglas County has been down a few people, and it's just really great. Carrie has stepped up and has remained calm. This is a huge communication effort, and I just want to express my appreciation for Carrie's work as well. I did want to ask Sarah, and going back to our meeting next week, do you expect that the director of planning will be attending that meeting?
Yes, he will be one of our presenters for that conversation, as well as Mary Miller and Tanya as well.
Super.
And then I think one of the items I want to make sure commissioners have on their calendar. So one of the reasons why we pushed to have that work session on the 10th is that later in February, there is going to be a planning commission retreat. And so where normally county commissioners and city commissioners are invited to attend that retreat with the planning commission. So I really feel like this is good background for that conversation. I'm trying to get information from the planning director as to which part of that work session or that planning retreat he would like county commissioners to attend. So as soon as I get that, I'll get that to you all. I do know that it is scheduled for February 26th, which is also the day of our first quarterly judges luncheon on Zoom, which is used to be a luncheon where we used to meet in person and eat food together, which was, you know, seems quaint and antiquated now, and hopefully will someday in the future, but it will probably be a bring your own lunch and join us on Zoom conversation over the noon hour.
I just wanted, my miscellaneous item was related to the vaccine event and wanting to really uplift Douglas County Emergency Management's plan for that. I'm completely unsurprised because I've been impressed with them repeatedly over the years. And I was really excited when Jillian called me and told me that she had a spot for me that I could be useful, and I really enjoyed the time. And I'm ready to do it again when I can, and just wanted to lift up to the community and anybody who's listening that it takes a lot of people. There was 100 or more people there that day to run a very well planned process, station to station, to get people moving, and it was heavily staffed with public health department, emergency management, and other county office staff, which I'm super grateful for. And I also want to acknowledge that that's not a sustainable model for us to continue pushing these vaccines out at the rate that we want to, at the rate that we're getting them, which hopefully will increase, and we want to increase our capacity. So for anybody who is feeling healthy enough and safe enough and has capacity and space, I just really want to encourage you to get signed up. At the United Way's website is hosting a little volunteer sign up where if you're interested, you'll be contacted about future opportunities. And it's really a community-wide effort. And so I just want to encourage that. And it felt good. It was honestly really a hopeful and exciting day. That was the energy of people in their cars as they drove through. All the volunteers were excited to be there, and people were so grateful for the opportunity. And it was a privilege to be a part of that. So I just encourage people to get involved, and thank you to all the county staff who might be watching or listen to this later, because I know you stepped up in big ways to show up that day and today and for lots of future changing events.
I have one more maybe request, Sarah, not even a question. On our consent agenda today was an item related to the BTBC and our agreement on that property out there. And I know the BTBC is beginning phase 3 coming up here soon. And that property has a long history that I'm wondering if at some point we might invite Laverne and some of his team to come and share with us sort of our relationship to the BTBC, and especially that West Lab property out there. I think I'd just like to hear more about it. I know that the agreement is a long time. It has been in place a long time, but just wanted to hear more about it.
Yeah, I'd be glad to see if I can find some time to get Laverne and perhaps Adam Courtney with his team in front of the commission, just to provide a little bit of background on it. It's both the city and the county both jointly have a stake in the facility that was bought at a time when we were desperately in need of wet lab space in this community, and the city and the county came forward to help provide that. The space is unique. It has some real value to the community, but also has some real limitations. So I think a fuller conversation about that and how it plays into BTBC, and then conversations that BTBC is having along with the University of Kansas and endowment for a future innovations park on that, what we all think of as West Campus location, and its potential to really bring a lot of development to our community and additional great high-paying jobs. So I'll see if I can find some time for Laverne to come before us and talk about that.
This is Commissioner Portillo. Do we have any additional miscellaneous items? Okay, well, I thank you for all of those. I believe that we are ready to adjourn. So, thank you all.
Have a good night, everybody.